Very good morning, one and all. I extend a very warm welcome to one and all on behalf of Government First Grade College for this faculty development program. Let us proceed with the last day's proceedings. I call upon Dr. Zabihullah sir to take over. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Always have a successful exit than a favorable entrance, because what matters is not being clapped when we arrive, but being remembered when we leave. A very good morning to one and all. I extend a cordial welcome to each and everyone to this 7 days online faculty development program on research methodology in social sciences, organized by the Department of Commerce and Management, Government First Grade College, Gauri Bidnoor, in association with IQAC and Academic Research Group. Before we proceed, few instructions to the participants. Participants are required to mute their audios and turn off their videos. The program is live streamed in our college IQAC YouTube channel. You are requested to post your queries, if any, in the Zoom chat box or in YouTube live chat. Questions will be answered at the end of the session. Participants who have attended all the sessions and submitted feedback for all the 7 days will only be eligible to get the certificate. Certificates will be mailed to the participants' email IDs that were mentioned in the online registration form. Participants to kindly note that the certificates will be mailed after 3 days post consolidation of attendance and feedback requirements at our end. Continuing with the legacy of sharing knowledge, I request Dr. Gangadhara BR, Assistant Professor and HOD of History and IQAC Coordinator, GFGC Gauri Bidnoor, to welcome the virtual gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Once again, good morning, one and all. It's my proud privilege to extend a warm welcome to all on the last day of our 7-day national level faculty development program on research methodology in social sciences, organized by Department of Commerce and Management in association with IQAC and Academic Research Group, Kolar. I extend my welcome to our Principal Sir, Professor M. Shivanna, to this program. Welcome, sir. I welcome today's resource person, Dr. R.S. Narendra, sir, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Kolar. A hearty welcome to you, sir. I take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest of the day, Dr. Anita H.S., Registrar Evaluation and Professor of Commerce, Davanagere University. Ma'am may join at the later end of the program. I extend a warm welcome to Madam. I welcome our guest of honor for the day of the valedictory program, Dr. Irala Lokananda Reddy, Associate Professor, School of Management Studies, University of Hyderabad, Hyderabad. Welcome, sir. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. S. Muralidhar, sir, Chief Mentor, Research, Academic Research Group, Kolar, and all the resource persons who have contributed to our faculty development program in the last 6 days. I extend a warm welcome to all of them. I extend a warm welcome to all the participants who have joined us online. Welcome, one and all. I welcome Dr. Madhusudan Reddy, Organizing Secretary of this faculty development program, Dr. Zabihullah, Convener, and also Head of the Department of Management Department, and all the Head of the Departments, faculty members, as well as the administrative staff of our college to this program. To conclude, I welcome one and all for this session. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. We welcome you too for the program. I now request Srimati Parvatamma, Assistant Professor of Commerce at Government First Grade College, Gauri Bidnuru, to introduce today's resource person, Dr. R.S. Narendra, Assistant Professor of Commerce and Management, Government First Grade College, Kolar. Over to you, ma'am.
Madam. Ma'am, unmute.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Good morning to all the participants. Welcome all of you for the 7th, that is last day, faculty development program organized by Department of Commerce and Management in association with IQAC Academic Research Group, Kolar. Before move on to the technical session, it is very necessary to introduce today's resource person and guest, Dr. R.S. Narendra, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce and Management, Government First Grade College, Kolar. Dr. Narendra sir has completed 12 years of teaching experience. Dr. Narendra sir done MCOM from Bangalore University and cleared KSET. He holds doctorate on the topic Education and Employment Mismatch under the guidance of Dr. Venugopal in Tumkur University. Dr. Narendra sir has a member of various professional organizations and academic research associations. Sir has presented many papers at national and international seminars and conferences, and also an author of various books on financial accounting, computer fundamentals, retail management, and so on. On behalf of Government First Grade College, Gauri Bidnur, and Academic Research Group, and on behalf of all the participants, I heartily welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Over to you, Zabi, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Dr. R.S. Narendra, sir, Assistant Professor of Commerce and Management at GFGC Kolar, to take over the session.
Thank you, Bibliography, sir. So good morning to one and all. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good morning to one and all. So it is a happy Sunday, and we are all here to discuss about the last day. And the last day, we are in the last day of this 7 days FDP program on research methodology. So it is my opportunity and it's my fortune to being given an opportunity to speak on the last day regarding the report writing in research, and also about the ethical issues in research. Now, before my talk, I want to thank Professor Shivanna sir, principal of the college, and my good friend Zabiullah sir, and also Madhusudan Reddy sir, and Suresh Babu sir, and also Parvatama madam, and Dr. S. Muralidhar sir, who is my chief mentor, guru, and friend, and who is a guiding source and inspiration for all of us in conducting various such programs. So under the aegis of Academic Research Group, I am also a member of Academic Research Group. Under the aegis of this Academic Research Group, a lot of programs have been conducted during this pandemic, in the first phase as well as in the second phase of this pandemic, and a lot of knowledge sharing also is happening, and a lot of opportunities are provided for young researchers like us, so that we can share our knowledge with the upcoming and budding researchers. So with this note, I would like to share my screen. So Sir, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can shift that one to slideshow.
Yes. Yes. Is it visible, sir?
Fine, sir. Fine.
Thank you. I think there is some issue with my camera. I will I'll switch off my camera. There is some problem with my. So coming to this the last day of the 7-day FDP on research methodology. So research writing forms a very, very important part of the research process. And as we all know that, so many people, because of procrastination, so they will not be able to complete their research within the specified 3 years or 5 years time as provided, as assigned by the university rules and regulations. And in most of the cases, this relates to the procrastination and specifically in writing the research report. So I've seen many researchers who have completed their analysis, they've collected data and they've done wonderful research, but still they are not in a position to submit their thesis because of delay in the report writing and because of various rules and regulations which have to be adhered while writing this reporting. So as such, research report writing forms a very, very important part of the research process, even though we are discussing it at the end of the seventh day of this FDP. So it doesn't mean that research report writing starts after conducting the research. No, it goes parallelly. It goes parallelly with the process of the research. So report writing should not start after the research is over, after the analysis and interpretation is over. So many parts of the research writing can be done parallelly, and many part of the report should be unwritten and rewritten many times. So sometimes when you start off after your review of literature, you can start off with writing the introduction chapter and the review of the literature, and then you can go for data collection. But many a times we have to, again, after the analysis and interpretation of data and after coming out with our findings, we will have to rewrite the introduction, we will have to rewrite some of the chapters. So therefore, it is a never-ending process, or it is a very lengthy process where we have to revisit those chapters again and again, so that the objective of the research is fulfilled. So because we are always to the research is objective based, so therefore we have to look into the objectives, whether our objective of the research is fulfilled and whether we give justice to that particular objective. So therefore we have to go again and again, write it and rewrite it. So coming to the process of research writing. So the report writing depends on whether it is presented for a postgraduate dissertation or whether it is for a doctoral degree. So because it is a scientific process, because many institutions have their own method of presentation, they have set rules and guidelines. So as per that set rules and guidelines, these reports have to be presented, and the quantum of report, the volume of the report, and the depth of the report, and the quantity of the data and information that we have to provide depends upon whether it is the report at a postgraduate level, undergraduate level, or doctoral degree. And it also could be a personal research. It is for the publication of an article in a journal, or sometimes it can be undertaken as institutional project funded by an outside agency, like a minor research project funded by UGC or ICSSR, or something like that. So therefore, the nature of report writing entirely depends on the purpose. And for where we are going to submit and what are the requirements and what are the guidelines that particular institution prescribes. So we know that the research studies are scientific studies. Hence, it follows certain standard patterns, conventions, styles, and formats for maintaining parity in reporting and for easy grasp by others who are concerned with those studies. See, this report writing is not essay writing. So in essay writing, you have that flexibility, you have that autonomy, freedom to write whatever you feel like writing. But the research studies are very scientific in nature, and a set pattern and a procedure, a format has to be followed. So we cannot write haphazardly, we cannot use all our flexibility, and we cannot make it very casual. So therefore, we have to follow these scientific rules, procedures, and the policies. Then a research report is a precise presentation of the work done by a researcher while investigating a particular problem. So, see, most of the academic research will end up with reporting. So, the reporting is very much required, because so the stakeholders or whoever is interested in the research, so they want to know, and so we have to put it in the form of a written report, and it goes for the publication or it goes to the stakeholders. So therefore, the presentation should be so focused towards all these things. So there are many times questions are raised, because most of the research, so they're technical in nature, and the common man will not be able to understand why researchers are making more the reporting aspect more technical, and it is not like reading a story, or it is not like reading a novel or a essay. Yes, of course, because a researcher has to deal with all the technicalities in his concept. He cannot make it, or he cannot simplify it. But there are other forums where after your research is done, you can publish some articles for a newspaper, where you can reduce the jargons, you can simplify it, you can put it in a layman's language or a common man's language. But report writing is not the place where you compromise your technicalities. You need not compromise your technicalities so that the reader might not understand. Yes, so for common man, there are different platforms, and even in research, see the chapter analysis and interpretation chapter. So it is a very technical chapter. Of course, many of the researchers ourselves, we will not be able to understand the technicalities in those chapters. But the findings and conclusion part, when we come to that, that will be in a simplified form, in a layman's language, in a simple language, where even a layman can understand what is the finding and what is the conclusion. So therefore, each part of the research report has its own significance, and therefore, in the terms of presentation, so where technical language, technical jargons are to be used, that has to be used, and where simplification is required, that has to be done. Now, while organizing a research report, so the entire research report can be mainly divided into three major divisions. That is the beginning pages, the main body of the report, and the end pages. So the beginning pages contains the title page, the acknowledgement, the contents, the list of tables, list of figures, and glossary. And the main body contains the chapter scheme, that is the introduction, review of literature, design of study, analysis and interpretation of data, major findings and conclusion, and the end matters are the references, bibliography, and appendix. So this is the body, this is the main three divisions of how we are going to present the research report. Now coming to the beginning pages where we deal up with the title page, acknowledgement, contents, list of tables, list of figures, illustrations, and glossary. So the first thing is the title page. So what are the contents of the title page? So the content is the title of the topic. So the title of the topic should be precise. So it should not be very lengthy, should not be very elaborate. Elaboration is done inside the report, but the topic is very precise. Then the relationship of the report to a degree course or organizational requirement. So we have to state what is the relationship of this report to, is it related to a particular degree or related to a particular organization. In many places we see that it is submitted in the partial fulfillment of the award of the Doctor of Philosophy. Why we use partial fulfillment? For the award of doctoral degree, there are so many other requirements, and one of the requirement is the submission of this particular report. So that is why we use the word partial fulfillment of the requirements of the award of the doctoral degree. Then name of the researcher. So the name and the if the register number is also there, so name of the researcher and the register number of the researcher. Then the name of the supervisor and his designation and his qualification should be mentioned. Then name of the institution where the report is to be submitted, and also the date, and that is specifically the month and the year of submission at the end of the thing should be submitted. So a typical title page or the cover page so will look like this. So the title preferably so should be in bold capital letters, and the other things can be in the sentence format. So this is the typical format of the title page. Now the second thing is the acknowledgements, where we are going to respect, or we are going to thank all those people who have helped us, who have extended their support in completing this research work. So here you can start with the short statement of problem. So regarding our research, what the research is about in 1 or 2 lines, and then so how each person has contributed, and this also should be very brief, not too elaborate. So you need not mention all those help or support which they have provided. So you can use simple words and in a very respectful way you have to make this acknowledgement. Then the next thing is contents. So a table of content indicates the logical division of the report into various sections, subsections, and chapters. It should also indicate the page reference for each chapter or section and subsection on the right hand side of the table. So the table of contents, or the what we call it as the index. So it contains the name of the chapters, then their page numbers, the number of the chapter. So a typical content page will look like that. So the beginning pages or the initial pages, what I refer, that is the acknowledgement, the table of contents, and list of tables. So for this, the page number we should use the small Roman numbers we can use, and from the introduction chapter, that is from chapter 1, from the first page of the chapter 1, we can use the normal numbers. So this is an example of the content page, how it looks. Then list of tables. So in our research report, it can be from the most of the tables and figures will be in the analysis and interpretation chapter. So where you will have to give a title, a suitable title for each and every table. So, and those things should be listed here. So here it is not necessary that you give the number of the table. The table numbers are there. If it is the number fourth, if it's the third table in the fourth chapter, it will be 4.3. So here you need not mention the table number, but you have to mention the page number in which the table is available. So this is a particular format of how the list of tables are prepared. Then list of figures and illustrations. So here also, so you have to give a suitable title for each figure, and here the page number of each of the figures available in your research should be mentioned. Then a glossary is required because we have used many important terms or jargons, and we have to give the meaning. So it is like a short dictionary which explains the technical terms and phrases which are used with special connotation by the author. And the entries of the technical term are made in alphabetical order. So the glossary should be put it in alphabetical order, so preferably A to Z order. So a glossary may appear in the introductory pages, although it usually comes after bibliography. So in glossary, example of glossary is given. So some authors, they put it in the beginning pages, and some authors, they put it in the end pages. But anyhow, you have to see that it is arranged in alphabetical order. Then abbreviations. So the expansions for abbreviations, we have used so many abbreviations in our research report. So the expansion of these abbreviations should be given. See, all these glossary abbreviations, all these are given so that we make the work of the reader easy. We make the job of the examiner or the reader, whoever is reading this report, we are making his job easy, so that he will get to know what is the expansion for that particular abbreviation. So this is the format or a sample of how the abbreviation, and this abbreviation also preferably, if it is put it in a alphabetical order, it will be easy for the reader to locate a particular abbreviation. Now coming to the main body of the report. So the main body of the report contains the chapter scheme, that is the first chapter, introduction of the research problem, second chapter, review of literature, third chapter, design of the study, fourth chapter, analysis and interpretation of data, and the fifth chapter, major findings, and the last one is the conclusion and decision. So the main body, this starts with the introduction chapter. The first chapter of the research report is introduction. So here it introduces the topic or what the researcher is going to investigate. And the introductory chapter gives the background to the specific area of investigation. And this is followed by a brief statement of the problem and the study. And it is also necessary to explain the significance of the present problem. So it is very difficult to write a introduction chapter, because so when you start off your introduction chapter before analysis, so you will have a particular perspective in your mind. But after analysis, your perspective might change. So therefore, this introduction chapter has to be written, and again, it has to be revisited and rewritten many a times, because the content of this particular chapter is very much confusing for many of the researchers. So the basic content of this particular introduction chapter is the objectives of the research study should be explained here. So what is the objective with which you have started your research study? And this is followed by the statement of the proposed hypothesis of the study that would be tested through statistical procedures. And see, when you have mentioned what is your objectives, and you will also have an idea as to what will be your hypothesis, what can be the possible tentative results of this study. You will have a particular idea, and that is called as the hypothesis. And you have to explain what is your hypothesis and why you feel that this particular hypothesis is you have selected. And all the concepts, constructs, and variables to be used in data analysis are stated precisely in this chapter. So there are various concept, constructs, and variables. So the dependent variables, independent variables, and various constructs for that, and various parameters for selecting those variables. All these things which has been discussed by our resource persons in the previous sessions. So those variables and construct have to be described here. And finally, researcher explains the scope and limitations of this investigation. So the first chapter or the introduction chapter, my suggestion for writing this particular chapter is we have to do a branching in the sense, when you take up when you have a problem for your particular study, for example, so your study is about motor vehicles in the there is something called as a roofed scooter. See, if your study is about finding what is the market potential for roofed scooter in the country. So roofed scooter is a scooter with a roof above it, so that it can protect the rider from the rain, sunlight, pollution, all these things. So if this is your topic, for example, what will be the content of your introduction chapter? So you, through your review of literature and through your secondary data, you would have gone through a lot of literature related to the motor vehicle industry by now, and specifically towards the two-wheeler industry. So, and in specific in two-wheeler industry, particularly related to India, particularly related to the place of your study. So you would have collected all those data. So, and you would have identified what is your research problem. So therefore, so using a funnel approach where you start from a very broader perspective. So when your topic is about market potential for roofed scooter in our country, so you will not directly start off with saying what is roof scooter. You will go to a very broader approach where you say, so what is the motor industry or the motor two-wheeler industry. So, and then narrow down to specifics. So therefore, so you have to branch it out, and you have to use a funnel approach here and narrow down to finally to the roof scooter. What is the design of the roof scooter? What are the characteristics of the roof scooter? Then what are the problems associated with the roof scooter, and why this study is conducted upon this particular roof scooter? What is the potential for this manufacture and sale of roof scooter in the country? So likewise, we have to narrow down from a broader area. So after this, the second chapter is about review of literature. So there are some important functions of this review of literature. This review of literature, firstly, it helps the researcher to select a research problem or topic of study, identify the objectives, formulate hypothesis, and formulate the theoretical framework for the entire study. See, many people, they say analysis or using statistical tools or bringing out the collecting the data and analysis of the data. That is a very, very difficult step in the research process. But I feel review of literature is one of the most difficult part in research, because so any researcher who has perfectly done this review of literature will find half of the answers to his research problem, because all these research reviews from the secondary data, whatever is available in the public domain, so and the recent research papers, so which have been published, so all those will give us a particular direction to our study. So it will say what is already done in this domain, and where we are standing in this particular domain, and what are all the research opportunities available for us to continue with our research. So therefore, this review of literature forms a very, very important part of our research study. Secondly, this review indicates the understanding of the research in relation to the area of study under investigation, and thus is our competence to carry out the study. So it shows through the research review, we will know how much we have understood, and it will help us for the further investigation. And thirdly, it helps the review. Thirdly, the review helps the reader who wish to know more about the study by referring to the books mentioned in the review of literature. So when you go for the review process and you study various papers and thesis and various research studies, you will be referring to so many bibliographies and references, and where you get a lot of information about the sources you have to refer. So this is another important advantage of going through this review of literature. The next chapter is about the design of the study. See, the design of the study is usually described in the third chapter of the report. So broadly speaking, this chapter provides a detailed overview of how the study was conducted. So it is how it is like the roadmap. It is like the blueprint. This design of the study chapter is like the blueprint. It will state your methodology. It will state your methods or techniques you adopt, and how you sequentially move on with your research. So each and every aspect of what you are going to do and how you are going to conduct your research should be specified here. And this contains the various subsections, like the description of the research design of the study. So you have to state what is your blueprint, or what is your layout, what is your research design. So what is the how you are going to study this. So here you will also mention about the variables, that is the independent variables, dependent variables, the control variables, and also their operational definitions. So as you have come across in the last sessions about the dependent variables, independent variables, the control variables. So here we will define what is the independent variable in our study, what is the dependent variable in our study, and we also provide operational definitions for the jargons or the words which are used in our study, because very important terms which are used in our study will have specific meanings for our study. It will have a generalized meaning outside, but for the purpose of our study, what meaning does it has? So that has to be explained in this operational definition. Then the various subsections include the sampling procedure. So here we have to define the population and how we are going to draw the sample from the population for this present study. So what is your method of sampling? What is the sample size? So how you are going to draw your sample? So what is the what are the if you are whether you are using a stratified sampling, or whether you are using a snowball sampling. So what is your method, and you have to justify why you are using that particular sample for your particular study. Then listing and describing methods and tools of data collection used in the study, like questionnaire, attitude scales, their reliability, validity, and administration, etc. So the validity and the reliability of data is very important. So the research is done not for our own fancy, it is done for some particular purpose, and this research will be should generate such results which can be generalized. So therefore we have to see that the data what we collect, or the data what we are going to obtain, will have proper reliability and validity. So in the session, this spoke about the Cronbach alpha and how the reliability of data has to be measured. So all those things have been discussed. So those things has to be specifically listed out in the design of the study. Then it also has to describe the statistical procedures used in the analysis of data, including the rationale for use of a particular method of data analysis. So whether you are using the factor analysis, whether you are using the SEM modeling. So whichever statistical tool you are using, or whichever, whether you are using the whatever descriptive statistics you are using. So why you are using, what is that you are using, and why you are using, that has to be specified in the design of the study. And the next chapter is about the analysis and interpretation of data. And this is the fourth chapter of the research report. And we call it as the heart of the whole report, because see, whatever we have done till now, till the methodology, whatever we have done, so we feel that any researcher can do that. But this particular chapter is a unique chapter. So you will not find this in any of the other researchers. So whatever you are doing here is with your sample. So where nobody has attempted on this particular sample. So you might be doing the research in Bangalore or in Gauribidnor or in Chikballapur. So you are doing the research with that particular sample where no other researcher has attempted on this particular topic. So therefore, it is the heart of the whole report, for it includes the outcome of the research. So this is very, very important, because the outcome of the research is available in this particular chapter, and therefore that is the reason why we call this particular chapter as the heart of the report. And maximum time is spent on this particular chapter, because for the collection of data and analysis of data and the presentation of data. So the collected data are presented in tabular form and analyzed with the help of statistical procedure using the parametric and non-parametric tools. And this chapter also presents the details about the testing of each hypothesis and the conclusion arrived. So in the beginning, we have framed some hypothesis, a tentative statement regarding the study. So we have to test whether those tentative statements, so what is the validity of those statements, whether we accept our hypothesis or whether we reject that hypothesis. So those things also should be discussed in this particular chapter. And the last chapter is the findings and conclusions. So the major findings and conclusion. See, this is usually the fifth chapter in the research report. The major findings of the study analyzed and interpreted in the preceding chapter are precisely and objectively stated in this chapter. See, most of the findings what we are going to record here is from the previous chapter, that is from the analysis chapter. So where we have analyzed the data and we have presented the data through the tables and the graphs, and each of those tables, graphs, and their interpretation will give us some finding about each of that particular aspect of our study. So this objective wise, we have if we have done our analysis, so the same objective wise, we can give our findings here by referring to the analysis chapter. From the previous chapter, we will carry all those important findings. So what that particular test has given us, what that particular table or what particular that graph, and how we have interpreted that. So those things will be discussed in this chapter in the name of findings, and then conclusion, and finally with the recommendations or the suggestions. And as I told you, this particular chapter is not made very complicated. It is a it's very simple and layman's language is used here, so that any reader, if he is not from any technical background, any common man who reads our study can easily understand what is the findings and what is the conclusion of the study. So of course, the analysis chapter is very too technical for a reader. We cannot you cannot understand anything from that particular chapter. But this chapter, the findings and the conclusion and the recommendations, so they are very much simplified and it will be very user friendly. Then after this, we come to the end matters. The end matters consists of the appendix, the references, the bibliography, and the appendix. So while speaking about bibliography and references, so the research reports present both bibliographies and references. See, researchers have been using this bibliography and reference interchangeably. So both these things are not the same. There is a difference between bibliography and references. See, nowadays in research reports, so references are prepared at the end of every chapter, or it can be presented in the form of footnotes. So, and also references as well as bibliographies are presented at the end of the report. So here bibliography is a list of books, research reports, articles, etc. that may or may not have been referred to in the text of the research report. So bibliography is a very elaborative list of whatever you have referred, the books, the research, because when I start studying, so it's not necessary that whatever I study, everything I'll put it in my report. So for the sake of my knowledge, for the sake of my sequencing, so first I study some basic things. For example, if I'm doing a research on marketing, I will refer the Philip Kotler's Modern Marketing Management book. So that doesn't mean that I have directly borrowed something and put it in this particular report. So I have referred that book and got enough knowledge so that I can do my research. So therefore, bibliography is a list of the books, the research reports, articles that may or may not have been referred to in the text of the research report. But the references include only such studies, books or papers that have been actually referred to in the text of the research report. So we will, when we draw something from a particular research paper, from a particular study, from a particular article, and we have referred or we have put it in our research report, then that is called as the reference. And we have to, for all these things, bibliography or the references, so we have to give proper credit to all these authors, and we have to give the references at the end of the report. So now, how we are research report should present references. Books meant for larger circulation may be listed in bibliographies that should include all such titles as have been referred. So one way of how we have to present the bibliography and references. So we have to quote relevant references, that is the author and the year of publication, etc. Example, if the author is Das and the year of publication is 2000. So this is in a very simple form. We can quote it here. If 3 or more lines are quoted from a source, the page number 2 should be noted. So if we are using 3 or more lines, then the bibliography should be in this way. The reference should be in this way: Lal Das, 2000, and you are also mentioning the page number. Besides that, full reference should be placed in the reference section of the report. So coming to the appendix, see appendix after the bibliography, references and bibliography. So there are some data or some calculations, some maps, some tables, some secondary data which are used in the report, which are very lengthy, which cannot be fitted in the analysis chapter. So, but which forms a very important part of the report. So, and sometimes it has to be referred. So such things can be put at the end of the report. Okay, it contains all the lengthy tables, the calculations, the workings, the secondary data, and sometimes some maps or sketches or some drawings. All these things can be put in the appendix. So all these things are the part of the research report writing. So report writing, as we have discussed, so it is a scientific process and it is also an art. So it is an art where you are going to present your creativity and ideas also in some of the chapters. But in some of the chapters, it is only scientific process where you don't have that liberty to put your ideas. So your biased ideas or your own casual ideas cannot be put in some of the chapters. Of course, in the introduction chapter, you can put your ideas. Of course, in the recommendations, you can give your recommendations, but in most of the cases, so it should be, as the research is very scientific and objective oriented. So you have to use the you are constrained to not to use your knowledge, whatever results you have obtained, whatever the data says, whatever the statistics says, only those things has to be put in the research. So because many times we may not accept our own results. So whatever results we have got from our research study, we may not be in a position to accept, but still this particular sample, this particular data has given this particular result, and we have to carefully observe it, and we have to accept that, and we have to respect what the data says rather than using our own bias and using our own explanations. Now, the next part we are going to discuss is about the ethical issues in report writing. So we have been seeing that a lot of research is happening in our country, but there is no impactful research. So by the word impactful research, I mean to say that, so most of the research is done only for academic purposes, for gaining a degree, for promotion, and various other purposes, where so it is not very impactful, where the researcher is not very serious about the issue, he is only serious about doing the research for the sake of his personal gains. So in that case, so lot of unethical practices, lot of misconduct is being done in report in the research. So concerning that, we have to follow some ethical practices while doing our research. But looking at the ecosystem, the research ecosystem in our country, so research has said that more than 40% of the publication is fake in our country. So the number of journals, we call it as the predatory journals, are increasing. They are ghost authors, and so many wrong things are happening in the research, in the name of research. All copy, cut, paste, Googling, all these things are happening. So some of the misconducts which I can refer is the fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, paraphrasing, self-plagiarism. All these things are happening. So therefore, a serious note has been taken by UGC and many bodies, many research institutions also, to to do something to overcome this menace of plagiarism, fabrication, and falsification. See, fabrication means making up a data or cooking up data. See, without collecting any data, there are many studies or research where they don't collect any data. They just work on some cooked up data. They do their own data. So that is called as fabrication. Then falsification means manipulating the research materials. So whatever research materials are there, you are going to manipulate it, and you in place of in a research where the research is done in Gauri Bidnor. So in the place of Gauri Bidnor, you are putting the name Kolar or Bangalore. So you are just changing the name and you are presenting that study. So this is falsification. So, and plagiarism. So using or appropriation of another person's ideas, process, results, or words is called as plagiarism. So you are using other person's ideas, other person's process, other person's results, other person's work, and without giving any proper credit to him, you are using it. So of course, using other person's ideas, we have to study other person's ideas, we have to respect other person's ideas. So we have to use in our study, but proper credit has to be given. So that is not happening, and the entire report of another person's, we cannot use it here in our study. So, and also self-plagiarisms. Self-plagiarism means, see, I have done a research study for some purpose, and again I am using it here in my other research study. So where you are doing self-plagiarism. Then paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is another new invention where, so to avoid plagiarism, many people what they do is, so they will copy another article and they will paraphrase. There are so many softwares available in Google where the sentence formation will be changed, and where it will not be subject to plagiarism. So when you test the plagiarism for that particular article, the plagiarism softwares will show that there is no plagiarism because you have paraphrased it, you have changed some of the words, and that too there are softwares which do this paraphrasing. So these are the major ethical issues. So therefore we have to discuss about these ethical issues. So ethics issues involve complex set of rules and guidelines that guide and govern the process of research. And there is a common belief among researchers that ethical issues start with the process of data collection and end with it only. No. See, many people believe that the misconduct is only in the process of data collection and data analysis. No, there is unethical practices throughout the report. If you look into many reports, there are unethical practices, even in the introduction chapter, even in the methodology, even in the findings, conclusion, everywhere you see it is not only in the data collection. So ethical issues in report writing, however, in essence, ethical issues need to be taken into consideration from beginning till the researcher arrives at its logical conclusion. See, many people start with ethics in the beginning, but by the time they complete the research, they take up, they start using unethical practices. So therefore, throughout the research, so we have to use ethics. In general, research ethics can be classified into two main categories. There is ethics concerning participants and ethics in writing. So ethics concerning participants in the sense, so the data what we are collecting, so the respondents. So many people, so they collect data from wrong respondents and unrelated respondents. So because it is convenient to collect data. So it is very difficult for me to go and collect data from a bank employee. I collect it from any common man. So there we are involving in ethics concerning the participants. And ethics in writing. Ethics in writing also is very important. So before that, the regarding participant, so many times we don't obtain the written consent of the participants. So sometimes we forcibly obtain data from participants, and it's very important that we do not, we respect the privacy of the participant. We respect the privacy, and we have to maintain anonymity and confidentiality of the participant or the respondent. Then ethics in report writing involve anonymity, confidentiality, analysis, and reporting. So we have to maintain confidentiality and anonymity about the person from whom we have collected the data, because so that is a ethical agreement between the respondent and the researcher. So after collecting data, if you are going to disclose the name of the participant, so that is unethical. So anonymity implies that responses of the participants mentioned in the final report stands unidentified. Then confidentiality means keeping the identity of participants a secret by using a pseudonym in place of actual names of participants. So instead of using the original name of the participant, we can use a pseudonym. Due to this, only the researcher can relate the response with the participants who provide them. Then ethical issues in reporting also includes the plagiarism, where and others' work, whatever other person have done, their work is directly used without giving proper acknowledgement or credit. And the plagiarism can be resorted to in multiple ways, such as stealing ideas, concepts, theories, interpretations. So therefore, so these are some of the ethical issues in the research. So actually, there is a elaborate discussion about the ethical the misconduct in research in the name of fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, self-plagiarism, and paraphrasing. So therefore, so all these topics are very, very relevant, because to improve the quality of the research, so all this menace of misconduct in research has to be removed. So only then we can come out with the impactful research. So thank you all for your patient listening. So whatever little I knew about these ethical issues, I have discussed with you. So thank you for giving me an opportunity. I thank the college. I thank Dr. Muralidhar sir. I thank Professor Shivanna sir, Rabiullah sir, and Madhusudan Reddy sir for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. We have 3 questions that has been raised by the participants.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the first question is, what are the ethical challenges of researcher in qualitative studies?
Regarding this qualitative study, where we are not collecting data in the form of a survey, where our focus is through other methods like the interview methods, or conducting a workshop and collecting data. So the ethics is basically we have to have informed consent. So many a times, without informing the respondents and without taking the consent of the respondents, we conduct a workshop and where we provide some information and we collect the data. So one is informed consent. Then another important ethics is the beneficence. That is, we should not harm anybody. We should not pressurize. We should not coerce anybody in collecting this data. And we come to the qualitative thing. And we have to respect for the privacy of the respondent, respect for anonymity and confidentiality of the respondent.
Yes, sir. And the second question is, how do you address ethical dilemmas in research?
To address ethical dilemmas and all these things, see, many private companies, researchers, and institutions, they are bringing out various softwares like plagiarism softwares, and anti-paraphrasing softwares are also available these days. Even if you have done your research using paraphrasing, so there are some softwares like Turnitin anti-paraphrasing software is available. So similarly, apart from all these things, what I feel is for ethical research, the institutions should provide proper guidance and proper opportunity should be given, because many times the researcher will resort to this unethical practices because of lack of knowledge, lack of motivation in research. So he will not have that motivation or information or what we call it as the zeal to research. That is the many of us and many scholars today, they are doing PhD for the sake of livelihood, not for the sake of passion. So when this is the case, so when government prescribes that the criteria for promotion is you have to publish so many research paper. So people, they are simply they want to fulfill that formality. For the sake of fulfilling that formality, they are doing research. So at the policy level, they have to think about this particular issue. So research should be only for passionate people. So that is the reason in the last MHRD they said for college teaching is very important, not research. For at university level, research should be given more importance.
Okay. And the third question is, plagiarism and data manipulation is hurting India's research. What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, yes, sir, definitely. Even I have been speaking about all these things in my plagiarism, and that is why the number of publications are increasing. So only these predatory journals, people are because of that the publishing. If there is a very strict peer-reviewed process, most of the articles will be rejected. So that is the reason. So all these publishing the fraud journals, the fake journals, and these predatory journals, they have to be stopped. The government knows this, and I don't know, many times I feel government is not taking proper action on those institutions or those journals, those people who are publishing this particular journals.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful session, and you have taken us through a journey of writing research and what are the ethical dilemmas that the researcher encounters during the entire process. We thank you so much for being a part of this program, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we move ahead with the valedictory session. It's our great honor to have amongst us an eminent academician, researcher, and educationist who is widely renowned among academic fraternity. Our chief guest, Dr. Anita H.S., Professor of Commerce and Registrar Evaluation, Davangere University, Davangere. Professor Anita H.S. has completed her doctoral degree from Mysore University. Marketing, entrepreneurship, and operations research are the core areas of her research. Besides holding the position of Registrar Evaluation, Professor Anita has served as a member of Board of Studies and Board of Examiners of several universities of Karnataka. She is a member of Research Proposals Evaluation Committee. Madam has adjudicated several PhD theses within and outside the state. So far, she has evaluated 27 PhD theses and 25 MPhil theses. Ma'am has guided several PhD and MPhil scholars. Professor Anita has visited as a peer team member of NAC to different colleges. She has authored a number of books and presented several papers in national and international seminars and conferences. Besides, she has a good count of publications in various journals of repute. Ma'am, on behalf of GFGC Gauribidnoor, Academic Research Group Kolar, and on behalf of all the delegates, I extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I now request Professor Anita H.S., Professor of Commerce and Registrar Evaluation, Davangere University, to present the valedictory remark. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I'm audible. Am I
Yes,
audible?
madam.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon to all the teachers, research scholars, students, and other participants of this 1 week long online national faculty development program on research methodology in social sciences, organized by Government First Grade College, Gauribidnoor, in association with Academic Research Group. My salutations basically to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Kemparaju sir, in absentia, Shri Shivanna M, the principal of this college, Dr. S. Muralidharji, Chief Mentor of ARG, that is Academic Research Group, a good friend of mine and a well-wisher too. Today's guest of honor, Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy ji, Dr. Narendra ji, and the entire organizing team. I'm glad to be associated with you all on this august occasion. It's my immense pleasure and a great honor to be a part of this event as the chief guest for this valedictory function. Friends, as you all know, we are going through a very tough time because of this second wave of COVID pandemic. Probably we have not experienced this kind of lockdown and stay at home pressures in our lifetime. And we are all helpless. But we are all techno-savvy and e-ready academicians. Hence, we are not finding it difficult to face this crisis. These kinds of faculty development programs and webinars are the living examples for it. The theme chosen for the program, that is 1 week's program in the name of FDP, is very apt and very much needed at this juncture. And I saw in the brochure, in this week-long program, it has covered very many interesting issues until the end, that is ethics involved in research. As you all know, research is an essential and powerful tool leading man towards progress. Without systematic research, there would have been very little progress. John W. Best has rightly said that the secret of our cultural development has been research, pushing back the areas of ignorance by discovering new truths, which in turn lead to better ways of doing things and better products. Scientific research leads to progress in some field of life. New products, new facts, new concepts, and new ways of doing things are being found due to ever increasing significant research in the physical, biological, social, and psychological fields. Research today is no longer confined to the science laboratory alone. The manufacturers, the agricultural experts, and the archaeologists are carrying on research in their respective fields and spheres, besides the sociologists, anthropologists, economists, and educationists. I usually say that for a social scientist, the society itself is a very big laboratory. If I raise a question, what is the scope of social science research? One may reply, of what use is a newborn child? In the manner of Benjamin Franklin, who replied thus when asked about utility of his findings about the relationship between thunderclouds and electricity. This means that new knowledge is like a newborn baby. It holds great potential of growth and maturity. Social science research is a scientific tool to study and analyze social problems that has immense value. It studies them in a purely scientific spirit with a view to understand their structure. A social scientist records and collects scientific, very significant facts and figures of social problems, and this in turn helps possible correct generalizations about them. The basic scope of social science research is to understand sooner or later, but correctly, the nature of social events and processes. Though this is done without any motive of particular reforms, the conclusions cannot be ruled out. Research is considered to be more formal, systematic, intensive process of carrying on scientific methods of analysis. It involves a more scientific structure of investigation, usually resulting in some sort of formal record of procedures and report of the result and conclusions. Probably all the 5 days or the week long which you have been thrown to knowledge, you might have already discussed about such several issues all through, and in a very orderly and systematic fashion too. Research, literally speaking, is a kind of human behavior, and an activity in which people engage. In education, teachers, administrators, scholars, and others engage in educational research. The problem of objectivity in social research is an important consideration. The researcher studies people who are living and thinking through his interaction as a researcher. The researcher may become a person who involves with people he has studied, and such involvement would make the study unscientific and biased. Therefore, the researcher needs to remain attached from the object of the study. Maintaining objectivity while concluding research is a very crucial thing in the scientific investigation. Besides maintaining objectivity, the social scientists must also remain ethically neutral. Probably right now you are hearing Dr. Narendra underlining the importance of ethics in research. That is, the researcher must not allow his personal feelings of likes and dislikes, ideas of right or wrong to his investigation. He must remain neutral while studying the social phenomena as he exists in the same society. There are certain basic prerequirements, or you can say prerequisites, which the researchers have to allow. They include use of relevant concepts based on probability, a commitment to objectivity, values, and ethical considerations. There are varieties of arguments which are put forward. It has been argued that social scientists necessarily have less objectivity than the natural scientists. This is because subject matter of social sciences itself contributes as a major obstacle for the researcher to maintain objective outlook. By objectivity or an objectivity outlook, I mean here being impartial. Being objective is in fact an aspect of the knowing reality. There is another significant aspect related to objectivity. The social science researcher himself is a human being living in societies, having certain social attitudes, values, beliefs, participating in a particular way of life. Another aspect of objectivity which we need to look into is emotional detachment, which arises from the fact that social scientists may not always be in a position to consciously detach himself from the area of problem that he is studying. The attitudes and values are usually accepted as well, which provide a complete and adequate viewpoint of researcher with such an assumption. The researcher uses these attitudes and values to prejudge the social situation that he is studying. It is argued that achieving objectivity in social research is difficult, especially when the inquiry prevents the social scientist to approach the problem in an objective manner. According to the critics of the objectivity in social science research, there are certain influences which prevent the social scientists to have an objective perspective, say namely personal motives, customs to which they stick to, social situations, etc. The social scientist himself is a part of the society. According to the critics, a social person in a social situation gives biases and prejudice, and this creates an adverse effect on the objectivity. There are influences which prevent the social science research from taking a complete account of evidence that they have. However, it is important to know whether this influence can really prevent objectivity. The failure of objectivity is often because of the simple fact that social scientist as a social being is participating in social affairs. Thus, objectivity is a complex aspect and it cannot be measured directly through a reliable source. The social research scientist has to take a great amount of care to maintain objective approach and to prove his objectivity. The value that is seeking knowledge is further extended to the state that it is important to spread knowledge, since knowledge is believed to be better than ignorance. not only for scientific but for ordinary people, as well as findings of science must be made public. It means these findings are not to be kept as secrets, but rather must be spread freely among the people. This is one important feature of ethical consideration. The researchers cannot keep knowledge only for themselves or consider it to be their private property. They have to share knowledge with the society. Such factors bring out a risk in the proper access to knowledge. One such important danger is the personal involvement of the scientists in their results. The scientists must always be ready to give up their own ideas if the evidences are contradicting their ideas. Any scientist who fails to follow this ethics will come under severe criticism. Hence, scientists are trained in such a way so that they behave in accordance with their ethics. Absolute honesty is another important ethic. Actually, the scientists who cannot and should not distort the facts to suit to their own considerations, because that's why I once again repeat, absolute honesty is another important aspect of ethics. This essentially means that honesty is the important precondition for any research. The acceptance of this kind of honesty requires that the scientist must admit his error when he is wrong, because truth is the highest value which can be compared to the scientist's own reputation. Reputation comes next, the truth comes first. However, what is more worrying is, despite all efforts, unethical and immoral practices are seen to be rampant these days. Just now somebody raised question at the end of the last session regarding the plagiarism. Through this medium, I call upon the researchers, the budding researchers, not to indulge in such practices. Be truthful, honest, and ethical in doing research, which in turn pays rich dividends in the long way to go. So, with this brief presentation, my best wishes to all the budding researchers and the researchers who continue to conduct researches in their future endeavors. I thank the organizers for extending the invite to me. My special thanks to Dr. S. Muralidhar sir. Thanks to one and all.
Thank you, Mom, for sharing your valuable experience with all the participants and all of us. It was a great experience to all of us for having you for this occasion. We have amidst us our guest of honor, Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy, Associate Professor at School of Management, University of Hyderabad, Telangana. I now request my colleague, Professor Manjunath Sir, Assistant Professor of Commerce, GFGC Gauribidanur, to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy. Over to Manjunath Sir.
A very good afternoon to all the respected dignitaries and my dear participants, respected principal, coordinators present here. It's my pleasure to introduce today's eminent guest of speaker, Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy sir. He is a graduate in econometrics, postgraduate in business administration, and PhD in management science in the area of finance. Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy sir is an FDP alumni. He was trained on research methods and case pedagogy on management. As a successful trainer, Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy sir had designed and delivered several seminars, research projects, and a training program, tools in management teaching, research methodology, case writing and teaching, SPSS, and Excel applications. As a passionate teacher of finance, his interests include corporate finance, investment analysis, strategic financial management, and Business Analytics. Sir has published several papers in Journal of Asia Pacific Economy, Indian Journal of Finance, Indian Economic Journal, ICFAI Journal of Applied Finance, Journal of Accounting and Finance. Besides presenting in national, Dr. Irala Lokananda Reddy sir also holds various positions as finance officer in the University of Hyderabad, coordinator of AICTE Cell, University of Hyderabad, chairman of Wings Business School, Hyderabad, dean of Dhruva College of Management. Sir also has many recognitions, ranked among the top 10% of authors on Social Research Network, an academic platform of more than 4 lakh authors drawn from all over the globe. Best Teacher Award by ICBM School, Hyderabad in 2018. Also award-winning SIP Supervision in 2009 at IBS Hyderabad. Award prize-winning case is also from Air India, Out of the Clear Blue Skies International Case Competition, IIT Gwalior. Dr. Irala Lokananda Reddy sir is currently serving as an associate professor at School of Management. I heartily welcome you, sir, on behalf of Government First Aid College, Gauri Viddur, and Academic Research Group, Kolar. I am very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Professor Manjunath, sir. I request our guest of honor, Dr. Irala Lokananda Reddy, Associate Professor in School of Management Studies, University of Hyderabad, to give special remark on this FDP. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Jabiullah. Thank you, Manjunath, for introducing me, and I recognize the presence of Dr. Anita Madam here, among us others in the meeting, and today I thought I will touch upon a few opportunities that we have as social science researchers in the new normal. So today the new normal is the way in which our professional and personal life has been disturbed. Instead of saying disturbed, this disturbance has got certain opportunities to offer to each one of us, and it is everybody's experience that how we are coping to this new normal, how we are coping to this new methods of teaching, how we are coping to this new methods of living, and how we are coping to this changes like work in workplace to work from home to work from anywhere. So yesterday, just give me a second, just a second. As I was speaking to you, I got a phone call and I said, just excuse me, I'll have to attend this phone call. This is how the life has changed. Let me just brief you about what the phone call is about. The phone call is from an Amazon courier guy. If you don't lift the call, he will call 10 times. He would not mind in what situation you are in. He will only say, I have called 10 times, you have not lifted, and he will leave. And then you get a phone call from Amazon office that right, your delivery was attempted and it could not be delivered, had our guy called you. The life has become so very, very, very open that I have a mobile phone now and this number is available with the Amazon guy, that he calls and he knows that you are not there in your office. You compare this situation 10 years before, if you had a courier, it would have been delivered or that fellow would have come tomorrow. So you are under continuous watch by all your machines around. As I am speaking over phone, my camera is looking at me. There are 1,000 other people who are in the meeting, they are looking at me. So I am today living in a world of artificial intelligence. Today I am living amongst machines, and the man has already become half a machine. Now, if there is the research opportunities in social sciences, they are umpteen today compared to what they were being earlier. And they try to open new vistas of research as we go forward. Today, more than the medical staff, I would say the psychologists are more busy. So many people are consulting psychologists, both online and offline. So they are consulting psychologists over internet. They are consulting psychologists over telecalling. Now some people are making visits to psychologists to their places. I know umpteen number of cases where people adjusting to this new normal have been encountered with a lot of psychological issues. Stress is on the rise. So today, the opportunities in social science research are huge, very, very huge. We used to speak about what we call work-life balance and how people used to balance their work and balance their life. And today, when we don't have a clear line of segregation between work and life, where is the line of segregation? Earlier, when I used to go to office, it used to be called as work. When I'm at home thinking about myself, it is to be called as life. Then I had to balance these two. And today I am sitting in home and working. Where is work? Where is home? This has thrown open so many other questions. So managing your office while you are at home is the new normal. And has this led to a lot of convenience to the people who are working, that you need not go to the office, you need not face the traffic, you need not waste your fuel, petrol, that's very, very costly nowadays. That way it helped people, or it has created new problems to the people. So while at home, I'm not only having one boss, I have two bosses. One boss is watching from office over Zoom, another boss is at home, wife. Am I now exposed to two bosses working from home? And especially there are a lot of opportunities to study these kinds of problems for the women workforce. Please remember, a woman in home is a full-time employee. She is a part-time employee in office in most of the cases. Now, can women clearly allocate time for their office work while they are in home? Has been a biggest research question that is being thrown open by most of the organizations. When we hear this, like companies like TCS, companies like Google have permanently decided the 40% of their workforce will work from anywhere. Today we are not calling it work from home, work from anywhere, work from wherever you are. And just today I have read the Microsoft is rolling out what is called as Windows 365. So they already have Office 365, wherein you can access your office from any machine, anywhere you are sitting. And today they are rolling out Windows 365. That means your hardware as a service is going to become reality in not just a few years, not just in few months, in few days to come. When Windows 365 is released into the market, literally you can access your physical desktop from anywhere in the world with Windows 365. This means you are carrying your office with you. Earlier, work is a place where you work, home is a place where you live, right? Hotel is a place where you go for some dinner. Today, while you are going for a dinner, you are carrying your work with you. So where is the segregation of these three different spheres in your what you call space? Where is the workspace? Where is the home space? Where is the other personal space? You can raise too many questions of how the stress levels have been playing a role after this new normal, new way of living, new way of working. A lot of feed for most of the psychology related questions. Then what kind of disturbance this new normal has created in our social bonding? Today we see most people getting addicted to over the television platform than before. So having learned that people are sitting at home, the content makers have made huge content available over different OTT platforms. Where is the time for you to kind of go through all this content? And remember, the human weakness is you cannot avoid that content. So I see many families, right, waking up to midnights watching web series. And what kind of repercussions this kind of habits will have again on your work, again on your life, is an important pertinent research question for social scientists to explore. And what kind of changes this new normal has brought in, particularly the field that we belong to, the education. What's going to be the face of higher education in the days to come? Just to quote an article that was doing rounds 2 days before, the IIM Ahmedabad has advertised a distance MBA, an online MBA from IIM Ahmedabad with 35,000 as the semester fee. And how this would disrupt the life of people who are working in this sector, the colleges that are already there in this sector. If an IIM Ahmedabad were to offer an MBA degree at 35,000 rupees a semester, and what are the financial, social consequences of this and the workforce in the higher education sector is a very, very important question to explore as social scientists. Similarly, the psychology of the student folk, which has not seen the school or the college for the last almost 1.5 years to 2 years, and which with the news that the third wave is on the offing, will continue in my assessment at least for another 1 year. The colleges are not in a position to, schools are not in a position to fully open and function. So this 2.5 years, 3 years of the students being away from the college, what kind of psychological stress, what kind of a social stress, what kind of a community stress this will actually bring up in these students, and what kind of formative influences these actions will have on their performance when they are grown up as working class. You know, there is a research called GLOBE, right, which is an initiative of National Science Academy of United States of America, which is having a project across 183 countries to study the formative influences of CEOs. That means the critical incidents that the CEOs were exposed to when they were children and when they were students, and the impact of those incidents on how they behave, how they perform, how they plan, how they strategize, how do they act on things, has been a very, very, very pertinent global study. And now the exposure that the students are getting due to Corona and its influences on their work life when they grow as a working class is a very pertinent research study that can be taken up by the social scientists. If you go on and on and on, there are a huge list of such opportunities for psychologists, for social scientists, for political strategists, right, for educators, for education technology people, and a lot of other cultural issues that are involved. The effect of the habits that are developed due to Corona, like habit of gaming, is going to be a very, very, very tremendous. I see now today people getting addicted a lot to this gaming because of the availability of the gadgets that are actually made available but for Corona. So the impact of all this on the cultural grooming of the workforce that we're going to get later is yet another important research question that can be explored. So now the Corona had given work and research work to a lot of social scientists, and to solve these pertinent questions, another 10 years of research is fully packed. With these remarks, I congratulate the college for organizing this FDP, and I hope I have seen the kind of topics that were covered, during this FDP. I think the participants would have immensely benefited, and they will start looking at some of the research opportunities that with my own thinking that I've thrown open during this meeting. And let us hope to see some research happening in these areas. I once again thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity, particularly Mr. Madhu Reddy for having considered me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on the new vistas and opportunities in social science research and providing valuable inputs to all of us. It's indeed a great opportunity to hear Dr. Airala Lokananda Reddy, sir. Thank you, sir, for being a part of this program. We have come to the fag end of the program, and I request Dr. Shri Suresh Babu, sir, Assistant Professor of Commerce at GFGC Gauribidnur, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, one and all. Dignitaries and the participants, honorable professors, it is the time to acknowledge the excellent support, continuous guidance, and kind participation of all the personalities contributed for the successful organization of this present FDP on research methodology in social sciences, jointly organized by GFGC Gauribidnur and Academic Research Group, Kolar. I would like to first of all thank T.D. Kemparaju, Vice Chancellor, who was the inaugural addressee of this 7 days online FDP in research methodology on social sciences. T.D. Kemparaju not only inaugurated and blessed the best wishes to this particular FDP, which is actually coming to an end. Then the second most important person in our institution and the prime founder, I should say, rather, is our Honorable Principal M. Shivanna, who has really supported on a continuous basis for organizing this wonderful workshop. And I would like to thank the resource persons from the day 1 to day 7, such as Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. Sairam, Dr. Divya, Dr. Usha Devi, Professor Girish, Professor Balaji, Dr. Narendra, Dr. Anita, Dr. Irala Lokananda Reddy, sir, as well. Today's chief guest, Dr. Anita, spoke on different constituents of the research, especially in the field of social sciences. Dr. Irala Lokananda Reddy has admitted the new normal and the role of artificial intelligence well pointed, and he has given a room for critical thinking for all the faculty of commerce and management staff. And our mentor, Dr. Muralidhar sir, each and every resource person has sincerely admitted their sincere
JP sir.
In progress.
Sir. Hello.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. There was the technical disturbance. Let me continue with the vote of thanks. And Dr. Madhusudan Reddy, I was talking about, he is the HOD, Department of Commerce and Management, and we organizing this excellent FDP online for 7 days. Then I have to sincerely thank Dr. Zabiullah, convener of this wonderful program. He is the person who is very honest and very sincere and persevere, and he is the role model to many of the teaching fraternity. I wholeheartedly, once again, I thank your all efforts in this endeavor of FDP online program. So thank you very much, Zabiullah sir. Then I have to thank my colleagues who have continuously supported Professor Akshata, who is the coordinator, and Professor Parvatamma, Professor Manjunath BN, Professor Rima Kotian, and the senior professors and junior professors of our GFGC, Gauri Vidnu, and IQAC chief and the coordinator and our mentor and leader, Dr. B.R. Gangadharaya, who has continuously supported for having this type of webinar to be conducted virtually, especially with all your support. Then all my colleagues and participants across all regions of the country, I would sincerely thank for your kind cooperating and participation. And to all those who directly or indirectly contributed their sincere services for having been concluding and having organizing this wonderful event, that is FDP online for 7 days. And towards the end, I would like to even express my sincere thanks to our student Sharanya, who has actually sung invocation song on the inaugural day. So again, I would, at this point in time, I feel very proud that I have been blessed and given an opportunity to express and to admit vote of thanks at this point in time. So again, I would like to thank you all. Thank you once again. So now it is over to Dr. Zabiullah sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Participants, kindly note that the certificates will be mailed to the email IDs that has been registered with us in the online registration form, and the certificates will be mailed after 3 days post consolidation of attendance and feedback requirements at our end. In case if you have not filled the feedback for any one of the days, kindly post your email IDs to the WhatsApp group, and the queries will be resolved at the earliest. Thank you one and all. Have a great day. The program ends.
Sir, let us go for a group photo, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
Let everyone unmute their videos, at least today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Anand. Thank you, sir.